All right, so we are now on the second half of lesson 23. This video is where I'm going to explain to you when you use the imparfait and when you use the passé composé. First, however, I have neglected to tell you about our new flag that is around me. This is the flag of Equatorial Guinea. There's a seal in the middle that's missing. You can't see it. Equatorial Guinea is in West Africa. As its name would imply, it's right on the equator, so quite tropical in climate. Equatorial Guinea is really interesting in terms of countries we've talked about that have French as an official language because it was not colonized by France or any French-speaking nation. It was colonized by Portugal and then Spain. But as you know, quite a few, especially West African nations, were colonized by France and do have French as an official language. So the reason Equatorial Guinea has French as one of their official languages is so that they could be a part of what's called La Francophonie. La Francophonie is an official sort of organization that includes any country that has French as one of its national languages. So, that's why they have French. No one in Equatorial Guinea really speaks French at all, but it is an official language for mostly trade purposes. All right, now that is out of the way, let's talk about l'imparfait. One of the main uses for the imperfect, l'imparfait, is for habitual events or habitual actions. And what I mean by that is things you do all the time, things you did all the time. You did them consistently, repeatedly, like habitually, right? So I'll show you some examples of habitual actions and sort of one-time actions. So habitually, usually, je regardais les matchs de foot. Usually, I watched soccer games. Okay? So we've got the imperfect. It's something you did habitually. You usually did it. You did it all the time. Okay? However, un jour, j'ai regardé un film. One day, I watched a movie. Okay? So here we're using the passé composé because it's something we did one time. Un jour. One time, like a specific time. Watching soccer games, I was doing it all the time. There wasn't one specific time. So it's a habitual action. Okay? See also, nous allions au cinéma. Nous allions au cinéma. We went to the cinema. Like, habitually. Usually we went to the cinema, like once a week we went or something. But un jour, nous sommes allés à un concert. One day, we went to a concert. Okay? So our specific action is passé composé. Our habitual action is imparfait. Okay? One more. Paul sortait avec Nathalie. Paul sortait avec Nathalie. Paul went out with Natalie. Pause. Sorry.
If you still have your Chromebook, please report to the library with your Chromebook case and charger. Go in the back entrance in the locker area to Mr.
Seems
Thank you.
overly complicated. Okay, Paul sortait avec Nathalie. Paul went out with Natalie, habitually. Every other night they went out. They were going out. However, un jour, il est sorti avec Nicole. He went out with Nicole. Okay, so one specific time, he went out with Nicole. Right, so habitual actions versus specific actions. So the imperfect is used to describe habitual actions and conditions. Okay, so we haven't talked about conditions yet, but habitual actions and conditions that existed in the past. It describes what people used to do, what they used to be. Okay? For example, quand j'étais jeune, when I was young. Okay, so this is a condition, right? You were young. It's a condition you had, the condition of youth. Quand j'étais jeune, when I was young, nous habitions à la campagne. Nous habitions à la campagne. We lived or we used to live in the country. So same thing. To living somewhere is kind of a condition, kind of an action. but it's something you did all the time. You didn't do it once. We didn't live in the countryside for like a second. We lived there quand j'étais jeune, when I was young. Also, j'allais souvent à la pêche. J'allais souvent à la pêche. I often used to go, or I often would go, fishing. Okay? Habitually. It's an action I did like over and over again. I'm not talking about one specific time I went fishing. I'm just saying I used to go fishing. Okay? So the passé composé is used to describe specific past events. What people did, what took place, what happened. So, ma mère a acheté une voiture. My mother bought a car. Passé composé. She bought the car one time. It's a completed action that is a specific past action. So it is passé composé. Hier, nous sommes allés en ville. Hier, nous sommes allés en ville. Yesterday, we went downtown. Okay, so I'm talking about a specific time. We went downtown. Not, oh, when I was young, we used to go downtown sometimes or once a week. Yesterday, we went downtown. Passé composé. So one way you can tell in context if you should use the imparfait or the passé composé is from surrounding vocabulary words. So I'm going to give you some vocab now that can help you decide, oh, is this a habitual action, a habitual action, or was this a specific past event? So on this side, événement spécifique, and then événement habituel on this side. So these words that I'm going to give you would signify, oh, I need to use the passé composé. And words on this side will let you know, oh, I should use the imparfait. Let's look. Okay, for événement spécifique, un soir. Un soir, one night. And that applies to day as well. Un jour, one day, I did this specific thing. Un soir. Une semaine, 1 week. Okay, then for événement habituel, you might see le soir, like every night. I know this says the night, but that's how French people say, like every night I do something, like, or during the evening. Le soir. Okay? You can do the same thing with days of the week. Mardi, Tuesday, as in, like Tuesday, I went to the grocery store, right? Passé composé, I went there and it was done. But if I say le mardi, that means on Tuesdays. Like on Tuesdays, I have tutoring after school. Okay, that's habitual. So, or I had tutoring after school. That would be the imparfait. You can also say un mardi, one Tuesday, they canceled tutoring. Okay, so that's a specific action. So un mardi, passé composé. However, tous les mardis is every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. And with that, you would use imparfait. Every Tuesday, I worked. I worked. All right, here's what I was saying. Same thing, like un soir, you can say un jour, one day. One day, I failed a test. That would be a specific event, and so you would use the passé composé. However, chaque jour means each day, or every day. Really means each day, though. Each day, I studied. Each day I studied. That would be imparfait, a habitual action. Okay? You could also say a specific date. Le 4 mardi. No, sorry, le 4 mai. Le 4 mai, 4th of May. Okay, so a specific day. May 4th, this happened. Passé composé. But you could also say tous les jours, every day. Every day. Right? Then, une fois, one time. You know this. One time, passé composé. Now, d'habitude means usually. Okay, so usually that would be a signifier to use the imparfait. Deux fois, two times. Still, those are specific events, so you would use passé composé. Or habituellement, which also means usually. Imparfait. Plusieurs fois, several times. Still, they're passé composé, like it happened distinct times, specific events. Or parfois, sometimes. Sometimes I went snorkeling. That would be imparfait. Okay, so these are, like I said, these are just some words when you see them in a sentence, because how your practice is going to work and how your quiz is going to work. So I will give you a fill-in-the-blank sentence, and I will most likely give you the verb as well, and you have to decide, okay, in this sentence, do I need to use the imparfait or do I need to use the passé composé? And one of the easiest ways to tell is if it says any of these words or anything like them, it'll be imparfait. If it says anything like this, it'll be passé composé. All right. So there's one other instance where you will use the imparfait other than habitual actions, and those are progressive actions or continuing actions. For example, let me show you. À 7 heures, je regardais un film. At 7, I was watching a movie. Okay? Since we are talking about an action you were in the middle of doing at this time, we use the imparfait. Okay? You were in the middle of doing it. It was happening at this specific time. Okay? Après le film, je suis sortie. Okay? After the film, I went out. This is passé composé because it happened and I was done with it. It wasn't an ongoing action. I left and that was it. Whereas watching a movie, you do over the course of maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. So that would make it a progressive action. Nous attendions Marc au café. Nous attendions Marc au café. We were waiting for Mark at the cafe. We were waiting for him. Okay, so to wait for someone is a progressive action, right? You wait for someone for a longish period of time. Whereas, finalement, il est arrivé, he arrived, he shows up, and that's done. There wasn't an ongoing process of him arriving. When he gets there, he gets there. So that's passé composé. This one is trickier to figure out than the habitual actions one. But basically the rules are the imperfect is used to describe actions that were in progress at a certain point in time. Actions that were in progress. So, for example, describes what was going on and what people were doing. À 7 heures, je faisais mes devoirs. À 7 heures, je faisais mes devoirs. At 7, I was doing my homework. Okay? Hey, kid, what were you doing at 7 o'clock last night? I was doing my homework. Je faisais, imperfect tense. I was in the middle of it. Oh. And then, passé composé is used to describe specific actions that occurred at a specific time. It describes what took place and what people did. So, à 7 heures, quelqu'un a téléphoné. À 7 heures, quelqu'un a téléphoné. At 7, someone phoned. Someone called. Okay, so this wasn't an ongoing action. The phone rang. That was it. Done. Completed action. Specific action that occurred at a specific time. Do another example. I do not. Okay. So those are two kind of cases for when we use the imperfect. Habitual actions and progressive actions or ongoing actions. Let's look at your practice. So your first activity here is called le 14 juillet. Le 14 juillet, July 14th in France, is their Independence Day, basically. So you do a lot of things. Describe what the following people habitually do and what they did on July 14th. So you can see here, we've got one column labeled d'habitude, usually, and then one column labeled le 14 juillet, July 14th. So in this first column, you are changing the verb to be in the imperfect tense, and in the second, you are changing it to be the passé composé. So, usually, Olivier dînait chez lui. D'habitude, Olivier dined at his house. However, le 14 juillet, il a dîné au restaurant. He dined at a restaurant. So that's it. First column is imperfect. Second column is passé composé. That's it. Now, this next section is where you have to practice knowing when to use passé composé or when to use imperfect. So during vacation, one can do a lot of things. Describe the things the following people did. Describe their activities. Use the imperfect of faire for habitual activities, and the passé composé for activities that happen from time to time. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, where you need to pay attention to those vocab words I gave you that can give you a hint to what tense you need to use if you need to use the imperfect or the passé composé. So, for example, let's do this first one. D'habitude, Mélanie, something, une promenade sur la plage. Usually, Mélanie, something, une promenade, a walk on the beach. Okay, d'habitude, usually, lets me know that I need to use the imparfait. And all of these are going to use faire. All of them will use faire. So it's either going to be passé composé of faire or imperfect. So we've decided it's the imperfect. The imperfect stem for faire is fais, V-F-A-I-S. And then I need to add the imperfect ending for Mélanie, which is singular, third person, so it's AIT. D'habitude, Mélanie faisait une promenade sur la plage. Usually, Mélanie walked on the beach or took a walk on the beach. That's it. So this is just practicing. When do I use imparfait? When do I use passé composé? There's a key at the bottom for you to check your notes. This section is the most important one. If you do poorly on it, I want you to email me and ask for more practice, because that is one of the single most important things that you figure out how to do on here. And with that, we are done with lesson 23. So your next post should be a quiz prep document and a little video, and then we'll be moving on to lesson 24. We're right here at the end of the school year. We don't have much more left to do. We will finish out Unit 6, and if we have any extra time, we'll do some fun stuff maybe. All right, let me know if you have any questions, and au revoir.